dear students, myself Gangadhar Solanke, and I welcome you all to the MCGM's virtual classroom. My dear students, today we are going to start with the topic winds in geography of standard 7. This topic which we have already started, and now today we will be learning the second part of this topic. We'll just revise what we studied in the first part of this topic. We discussed about the wind, or the definition or the concept of wind, and changes in direction of winds, and by the figures you people understood how winds blow from high pressure to low pressure, wind speed which is also varies, and wind velocity which is measured in the units of knots or kilometers. Now here, change in direction of winds. Here one thing which you have to understand, wind which we measured in the knots of units of knots or kilometers per hour. Then here, change in direction of winds, planetary winds and pressure belts on the earth. And then the next and the important thing which we have already studied in this topic, that the types of wind, the direction of blowing, the duration, the regions covered, and the condition of the air determine the wind types. And in that we studied about the easterlies, westerlies, planetary winds, local winds, seasonal winds, and in detail we studied about all these things. Here on the screen, planetary winds and pressure belts on the earth, then polar winds, local winds of world, secondary or periodic winds, that is valley and mountain breeze, valley breeze. And now today, in the second part of this topic, we are going to study about cyclones. Cyclonic conditions are created when a low pressure area is surrounded by high pressure areas. Again I am repeating, cyclonic conditions are created when a low pressure area is surrounded by high pressure area. For example, this one here point is of low pressure area, और इसे अगर हाई प्रेशर ने सराउंड किया है, उसके आजू बाजू में हाई प्रेशर है, तो साइक्लोन क्रिएट होता है. Cyclonic conditions are created when a low pressure area is surrounded by high pressure areas, and in these conditions winds start blowing towards the low pressure area from the surrounding high pressure areas. We have also studied about this, that wind or air travel from high pressure to low pressure, and here when there is low pressure area which is surrounded by high pressure area, तो यहाँ पर जो हाई प्रेशर है वहाँ से towards wind start blowing the low pressure area, and which from the cyclones. Now here in the figure 5.7 you can easily observe and understand this. Here this one low pressure area which is surrounded by high pressure area, ये सब high pressure है और ये low pressure है. तो यहाँ से आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे फिगर में air or the wind start blowing towards the low pressure area, and which causes formation of cyclone. In detail we'll see now. Here again by this figure you can easily understand, this one is the area where cyclone is formed, and which is because of the low air pressure surrounded by high air pressure. तो ये जो high air pressure का एरिया है, यहाँ से wind towards blow होती है low pressure area. Next thing, due to the rotation of the earth, the cyclonic winds in the northern hemisphere move in an anti-clockwise direction, not in clockwise. Due to the rotation of the earth, the cyclonic winds in the northern hemisphere move in an anti-clockwise direction, and whereas they move in a clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. So in northern hemisphere it's in anti-clockwise direction, and in southern hemisphere it's in a clockwise direction. During a cyclone, the sky is cloudy, winds blow with a very high velocity, and it rains heavily. Here you can see again cyclonic storm, this figure given in our textbook, figure 5.8. The area affected by cyclones is limited. जैसे बारिश है या फिर तेज हवा चलती है तो एरिया ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा कवर हो सकता है बाय दिस, बट इन साइक्लोन्स द एरिया इफेक्टेड इज लिमिटेड and the duration, velocities, direction and place of origin of these winds is unpredictable. उसके बारे में प्रेडिक्ट किया नहीं जा सकता कि ये कितनी देर तक चलेगा, उसकी वेलोसिटी क्या होगी, वो कौन सी डायरेक्शन में जाएगा और ये तैयार कहाँ पे होता है. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर अनप्रेडिक्टेबल. In the figure or in this GIF you can see cyclone. Again the next thing, here also you can see the center of a cyclone is represented by the letter L in the weather maps. A cyclone system moves from one place to another. Here you can see this L, this one, this one. So these are nothing but the cyclone, and here you can see in this weather map how it is showing. So the next thing to understand is cyclonic storms. Cyclones occurring in the western part of the Pacific Ocean along the coasts of Japan, China, Philippines, etc. are known as typhoons. यहाँ पर पर्टिकुलर जो साइक्लोन्स आते हैं उन्हें टाइफून्स कहा जाता है, एंड दिस स्टॉर्म्स अराइज इन द मंथ्स बिटवीन जून एंड अक्टूबर. जून एंड अक्टूबर. Due to high velocity winds and heavy rains, these prove to be destructive because of its nature or because of the high velocity of winds and heavy rain. These cyclones, typhoons may prove to be destructive. The next one, the cyclones in the Caribbean Sea are known as hurricanes, and these are also destructive in nature. Destructive in nature, इन cyclone की वजह से बहुत सारा नुकसान हो सकता है. During these storms, the minimum velocity of the wind is 60 km per hour. To understand this, imagine कीजिए कि आप किसी बाइक पे है और आप बाइक इस स्पीड से चला रहे हैं कि एक घंटे में वो 60 किलोमीटर चलती है. तो वो जो स्पीड आपके गाड़ी का रहेगा, आपके बाइक का रहेगा, उस स्पीड से हवा या स्टॉर्म उस वक्त उतना तेज होता है. साइक्लोन्स ऑल्सो ओरिजिनेट इन द टेम्परेट जोन, बट दे आर नॉट सो पावरफुल एंड हेंस आर नॉट डिस्ट्रक्टिव. So keep in mind two names, typhoons and hurricanes. Now we'll go for the next thing, that is anti-cyclones. Now it is in the name only, cyclones, anti-cyclones, जो उससे कुछ ना कुछ उल्टा है, कुछ ना कुछ opposite है, that we'll see. Under specific atmospheric conditions, the air pressure in the particular region increases and the pressure in the surrounding areas remain low, which is the basic कंडीशन ऑफ द फॉर्मेशन ऑफ साइक्लोन्स कि एक एरिया है जहां पर लो प्रेशर है एंड विच इज सराउंडेड बाय द हाई एयर प्रेशर. So in this situation, winds blow from the center towards the surrounding areas in a circular manner, and in the northern hemisphere these winds blow in a clockwise direction, whereas in the southern hemisphere they blow in anti-clockwise direction. Here now in the figure you can easily see how it forms. Direction of wind movement, this one, and wind, you can see this here, how it is going in the direction. During anticyclones, the skies are clear, winds blow with lesser velocities and weather is pleasant. मतलब कोई नुकसान नहीं है, कोई खतरा नहीं है, दिखने में भी कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा उथल पुथल हो रही है एटमॉस्फेयर में, ऐसा नहीं लगता है. एंटीसाइक्लोन्स जनरली लास्ट फॉर फ्यू डेज और अ वीक, एंड सच एंटीसाइक्लोन्स ओरिजिनेट इन टेम्परेट zones. Keep in mind this. Then the next thing, here you can see difference between cyclones and anticyclones. This one anticyclones and this one cyclones. Low pressure area surrounded by high pressure area, and here the direction of the wind you can see. So by observing this figure, try to understand the basic difference between the cyclones and anticyclones. So in cyclones or in cyclonic conditions, as we studied, these conditions are created when a low pressure area is surrounded by high pressure areas, and in these conditions winds start blowing towards the low pressure area from the surrounding high pressure areas, and when they move in a clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere, then it is cyclones or cyclonic storms, and when it is in the anti-clockwise direction in the northern hemisphere, then it is anticyclones. On weather maps, the center of an anticyclone is represented by the letter H, whereas we studied about the cyclones, which is represented by the letter L. Here H you can see, which means it is anticyclone, and the direction of wind you can see. Value of air pressure in millibars, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Anticyclones are vividly experienced in high pressure belts. Winds in these regions are always moving out, and hence the rainfall in such areas is quite low. Now one activity for this lesson which is given in our textbook is using the internet obtain information, photos and maps of the recent cyclones that arrived in India's eastern coast, and write the social and economic effects of that cyclone. One more thing, that is use the mobile app WindDT and try to know the direction of winds and pressure areas in the world. So by doing all these activities you can understand the concept of cyclones or anticyclones in detail. Now in the next session of social studies we will talk about natural regions in geography. Subscribe the channel and press bell icon to get notifications. So my dear students, this is all for today. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe, take care.